So you might be thinking to yourself, why is this white boy trying to teach me how to make pho? Well, the last restaurant that I worked at, there was a Vietnamese chef, and I made pho for a family meal. He ate it, and he said, hey, this is pretty good for a white boy. That's a high compliment. So anyway, there's my resume. Please enjoy. So we have come to the time to make pho. It demonstrates and teaches many techniques in one simple, beautiful, warm, delicious broth. And I think so many people are so afraid of it for no reason at all. On a piece of paper, it looks like a lot, but step by step, it's not that bad. So with all that said, let's do this, shall we?
So look, if you're gonna make pho, you need to make your own broth. No ifs, ands, or buts. No, I don't wanna hear it, sweetie. I love you guys, but I gotta draw a line in the sand here, right? Or I'm gonna cry. And it's really not that bad. You can make it a couple of days ahead of time. So first thing, you're gonna start with 5 to 6 pounds of beef bones. Now I've got a plethora of different kinds here. Now these bottom pieces are beef ribs that actually came off of a prime rib roast that I sort of trimmed these off while it was still raw. These cross-cut marrow bones and then some knuckle bones. You know, a nice mix of all this is really good. Now place those on a foil-lined baking sheet, line them out nicely so that they're not touching or overlapping, and then spray them gently with cooking oil, or you can rub them with oil, whatever. And then you're gonna place them into an oven set to 425 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 to 40 minutes or until deep brown. And when I say brown, I mean brown. I want that deep Maillard crispy, you know? If you have a convection setting, oh, much better. Now we're also gonna char our aromatics. So first you're gonna take a whole knob of ginger, a nice big piece like this, cut it right in half so you can see that cross section. And then you're gonna quarter 2 large yellow onions. Leave the skin on. The skin provides color and flavor. Just leave it on. Although if the root is really yucky, take that off. Place that onto a foil-lined baking sheet. Get those coated decently in oil. Once your bones are done roasting, then you're just gonna toss that into the broiler for about 10 to 12 minutes or until nice and charred, sort of turning occasionally. And when I say charred, again, I want them charred. Not like, you know, ash, but they should look like this. Now, our last layer of flavor intensification. You're gonna take a 1 to 1.5 pound piece of chuck roast. Get a pan ripping hot with a couple tablespoons of oil in there, and just sear that chuck roast on all sides until nice and brown on every side. Deep brown. About 2 to 3 minutes per side. And then just place it to the side. We're gonna add that later. Next, you're gonna add all your bones to a large stock pot, and you're gonna cover that with 5.5 quarts or 5.25 liters of cold water. Now look, a lot of the time people are gonna parboil their bones, but because we roasted them, we can kind of skip that part. Now I'll show you how. Now let it sit in the cold water for 5 minutes. The cold water is crucial because it helps release albumin, which is then in turn going to help clarify the stock. Now after that 5 minutes is up, place it on your stove and slowly bring it up to a boil, but don't let it boil yet. We just want to bring it to a light simmer. Now as it's coming up, you're going to see some foam and scum rise, only a little bit though. You won't see a ton of it because we pre-roasted them. With a skimmer, just skim that off intermittently. Once it comes to a light simmer, that should have stopped. At that point, you should be good to go ahead and add your charred onions and ginger, your seared piece of chuck roast, and a series of these spices, which all of them have been toasted by the way. 5 cloves, 5 to 6 star anise, 3 black cardamom pods, that's optional but I like them, a 1/3 cup or 35 grams of coriander seeds, and 1 thick cinnamon stick, along with a 1/4 cup or 60 milliliters of fish sauce, and 1.5 tablespoons or 22 grams of yellow rock sugar, or alternatively brown sugar. Now let that simmer uncovered for 2 hours. After that 2 hours is up, carefully remove your chuck roast and continue to simmer for another 2 hours. If you get a small layer of fat, just carefully spoon that off as it's simmering. Now once those bones are done taking their little bubble bath, you're gonna remove all your bones as much as you can. You're gonna strain that through a mesh strainer into a large, like a big boy bowl. Now at this point, it's most of the way done, but we need to finish seasoning it. Grab your fish sauce, grab your brown sugar. I usually only season with fish sauce. And then just season it with fish sauce until it's salty to your liking, and then balance it with a couple of pinches of sugar. Last, while it's still hot, tear off the stems of 1 bunch of cilantro, wrap that in cheesecloth, tied off with kitchen twine, and let that steep in the hot broth for 15 minutes before removing. And that is your base. Now at this point, if you're making it ahead, go ahead and let it cool down to room temp, and then put it in the fridge, and it'll stay good up to 5 days. Also, before you toss those bones in the trash, just be aware that you can totally use the meat and the marrow that's still on them in the final bowl. You can even crisp them up in a pan in their own fat. That's real nice. Now it's time to assemble my bowls. Now, like I said, I hate bean sprouts, so don't expect them to be here. You can figure that out on your own time. First, cook some rice noodles to the package instructions. Make sure that they're rinsed well. Pick the leaves of some cilantro, Thai basil, and mint. I know the mint is not traditional. A lot of people are gonna get mad about it. I like it in there, all right? You don't have to put it in there. Don't whine. Toss that all together in a bowl. Thinly slice some Thai chilies, like real thin. The thinner, the better. Very thinly slice some flank steak across the grain. You need this as thin as possible. If you're having trouble with it, obviously sharp knife helps, and you can always put it in the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes to firm it up. Thinly slice up your cooked chuck roast, which is chilled at this point. Of course, you can make lime wedges, but I think they look a whole lot cuter if you cut these little cheeks here instead, you know? And lastly, thinly slice some white onion. To assemble your bowls, put the noodles in the bottom, put some of that raw sliced meat, some cooked meat, and then pour your boiling hot broth on top of that. Top with your sliced white onion, top with your sliced chilies, your herb salad, place some lime wedges in there, and then just enjoy. I also like to serve that with some chili sauce and hoisin sauce on the side for dipping. And this could very well be the best pho that you ever make in your life. Don't believe me?
Oh. You know, it's salty, it's a little sour, it's a little spicy, there's herbs, it's crunchy, fatty meat, chewy meat. I mean, it's just everything in one.
But do you want to know what else has everything in one? B-roll.
Alright guys, and that is it. So we made pho. Not pho, not po. I hate bean sprouts. Okay, much like Matty Matheson, I agree with him. They're very yucky.
Yucky wucky.
Do not like them, I've never liked them. Also, shout out to Matty Matheson, if you're watching this, I love you, I kiss you, and I hug you. So hit me up if you want some of that. So if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.